Sure, that too. But we all question our actions and our motives and things like that. So what I really liked about this article was that it just kind of reinforced my personal struggle as far as wanting to be an activist that affects some kind of change in our society, not only for my fellow man but also for myself and my family. That I am doing the right thing. What it kind of made me realize was that, look, if there aren't people out there who are grassroots doing activism of every kind, not only out in the streets but also doing a blog online, or what we do here as a podcast and blogs online and so on, then the only information that's going to get out is the information provided by the mainstream media. That's obviously the arm of the state.
Exactly.
They obviously don't work for our benefit. They're there for entertainment and for pushing the whatever administration at that time's agenda. That's all they're there for. So if there aren't people out there doing what
left hand, right hand,
right?
Same brain.
Exactly. Not
Why did Glenn Beck get kicked out of Fox News?
I wonder. Yeah.
Props to you, Glenn Beck. If you listen, you better follow us.
Yeah.
Because we follow you.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's the bottom line, is that if there aren't voices out there putting out the message, then the only message you receive is from Fox and CNN and MSNBC, which are obvious, agents of the state.
Yeah. Apparently, like, if you follow paper trails like I do, and that is my angle on politics, is watching where the strings are connected, they're kind of all funded by the same people. So, you can have like a WWF showdown where The Rock is screaming at The Undertaker, and, to all my wrestling fans out there, I'm sorry if I got that wrong, like maybe they're in different groups or something, but you can have them screaming at each other and slamming each other, but at the end of the day, they're still being paid by the same federation.
Right.
So, welcome to politics.
Right, absolutely. And I definitely advise anyone who's interested, who listens to the show and reads the articles and so on, that hasn't done so yet. Like Stefan mentioned in the article, definitely if you have Netflix, or even if you don't, I'm sure you'll probably find it on YouTube or something like that. Look up the documentary Blackfish. He mentioned it briefly in his article, and everything that's happening with SeaWorld as a result of whistleblowers and the documentary Blackfish and everything that came along with that, because that's a beautiful example. First of all, it's not only great to just make yourself aware of those situations that are happening in the world, one of many, of course, but it's a beautiful example of the whole point of that argument, which is activism. Revolutions per megabit, just like the article is titled, which is another form of using the technology we have today, whether again it's blogging, podcasts, YouTube, whatever the case may be, to really get your message and your voice out there to affect some kind of change in the world.
Well, I have a question for you, Robert. I've never seen Blackfish, so doesn't that mean that it's not real and it doesn't exist?
Well, to a lot of people, yeah, which is exactly the point. And that's a great example that you make there, because that's really how a lot of things are with people out there who choose not to engage.
They can't be real. I've never seen it.
Right, as far as and that's what you call, ladies and gentlemen, willful ignorance. Because the bottom line is the information is out there, but if you choose not to see it, then it won't exist for you.
Well, I would like to make an allegory or an analogy, and I call it ostrich syndrome. And that's when the lion is chasing you, that you plug your head into the ground. Or maybe you didn't see the lion, but somebody else said there's a lion, so you plug your head into the ground.
Right.
My question to you, Robert, is the lion still there?
The tree falls in the woods. Yes, that old analogy. Yeah, exactly. And that's a big, scary thing that unfortunately still is happening in the world today. However, a little bit of a ray of hope. I know I myself have seen every day more and more people are waking up. It's on the one hand you are kind of sad when you are aware and you're awake and you know what's going on, and there are other people around you that are awake and aware or becoming awake, but then you see others who aren't there yet, and especially now in this day and age, with the amount of technology and information that's out there, and people still are ignorant to it, or even more so, like I said, willfully ignorant, where the information is there, they choose not to examine it. They choose to hold on to their core belief, whatever it may be, rather than looking to it and researching and studying and finding out what the reality is. That whole dangerous aspect of
change.
No, well, yeah, well, dangerous to the powers that be, absolutely. But I'm talking more about cognitive dissonance.
It's very interesting, and I know this is going to be a topic on our next episode for those of you that are listening live right now, but I personally was on the opposite end of that spectrum. I was very persuasive to dismiss anything that was democratic in the face of republicanism, because as a independent business owner, I hate being raped of what I work so hard for to give to people that don't work. And that's not to say people with disabilities or legit issues, but I grew up in a neighborhood where the local drug dealer lived on welfare and drove a Hummer. And
right.
I drove an ancient Lincoln that may or may not make it to work today.
Right.
And so, my view is very aggressive when it came to Republican Democrat. I'm like, oh, great, another welfare recipient who refuses to work, sells drugs to all the kids in the neighborhood, drives a Hummer with spinning rims, and I'm funding him.
Right.
Put yourself in my shoes. What would that make you feel?
Right.
And so I despised anything that had to do with that system. So I blindly accepted the Republicans in office. And, I hate to admit it, but I supported Bush both times until after the second time, with all the murder and the bloodshed, I couldn't equate it to any logic or reason. And, I started to question, okay, wait a second, why are we killing people with bombs and munitions that didn't actually do anything to us? Is it, and if you ask people today or to this date that are Republican, some of them still support it. Or if you reverse it and you say, okay, now that Obama is doing the same exact thing as Bush, how do you justify it? And the irony to this conversation is a lot of the people that support Obama will say, well, Bush did it,
right,
so why is it a problem now?
Right.
And I'm like, wait a second, it was you guys, it was you liberals and you Democrats that opened my eyes to this being wrong, because you guys were persistent with why are we murdering innocent people?
Well, even worse than that, what really gets me about that argument, when I'm talking politics with anyone, that is probably one of the biggest things that really, really chat my ass. Yeah, sorry for the profanity here, but that's really hot, big hot button.
Not bad, and chaps are a little questionable.
Good point. But that's that's one thing that really gets me, is that whole argument, and I see it still to this day. By people who I consider relatively intelligent people, but
I have mercy because they're like us. They were willfully blinded.
I guess, but my whole thing is, like, first of all, what are we, 12? Because you're basically taking the argument that your 12-year-old child uses of, well, he started it. That's basically what you're saying. When you're telling me that...
It's actually worse than that, Robert, because now we're talking, well, Bush murdered innocent people and invaded a land that was not actually directly attacking us, so why is Obama a problem all of a sudden?
Right.
We're talking about, like, real issues. Like, if you go to, like, Live Leak and look at U.S. bombing Syria and the people that are filming with their private footage, you're seeing children lying around, like children that are 5 and 6 years old.
Right.
How do you dismiss that?
Right.
How do we come to this place as Americans? Right. That a 5-year-old, is it because they're Islamic? Is it because they're gonna the boys are gonna wear a towel on their head as they get older? What is the excuse?
Right. Well, it's because we're separated from it. First of all, it's not here at home. It's not happening in our backyard. So it's easy to imagine that these aren't people. Especially, unfortunately, in this country, not only are these not people, because I can't see them, I can't hear them, I can't feel them, I can't smell them, I can't touch them, but these are also, even if they are people, they're brown people,
So I got to question the media. Why aren't they showing this footage? Because I look it up on Live Leak all the time, right, or any kind of alternative media source that's willing to show what's actually happening.
Right.
And I don't care where you're from. Children being blown to bits.
Well, that's exactly the point. And what goes back to the article here is that the only way you're going to get that kind of information the only way you're going to get the truth is through alternative media. You're not going to get it from mainstream media.
Plays perfect for the chosen topic that you chose for this episode.
Right.
And all this media, I guess it's independence now. You and I are both libertarian, very much so, but independent thought, independent media, and people being willing to be activists via the internet.
Right.
Man, you get some good footage. If you have to, make a fake Yahoo page, but publish what you see. Publish the videos, This sways our opinions.
Right. And not only that, but, speak it out. Even if you're not a person who's in the media, who has access to this information directly, it is available to you indirectly through alternative media. Get it, collect it, and put it out there. Make it go viral. Everything that you do is a step in revolution. Amen. It's a step in activism. Every single thing, like Stephen was saying, kudos to those who were out there in the streets picketing, people who were out there grassroots on their feet, bullhorning, whatever the case may be. Awesome, great. There are other tools available. If that's not you, no problem. It doesn't matter, because right now, especially, obviously, like the information that he cited in his article there, in this day and age, in the information and electronics age that we are now, really, honestly, it's more effective when you do it electronically, so you can have the ability to be able to send things viral via Facebook, Twitter,
right.
Google Plus, whatever the case may be, through a podcast. It's actually more effective, because otherwise Egypt wouldn't have happened. So shooting down Sipa and Sopa wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the internet, if it wasn't for blogs, if it wasn't for podcasts. Right, exactly.
Which you're welcome to do with our show, by the way.
Right, we all can play our part, not only in stopping things that are humanitarian crises or whatever the case may be, but also here at home when we're talking about defeating the false left-right paradigm, destroying the illusion that there's some kind of choice between Republican and Democrat that really makes any kind of difference in our world today. We have to. The only way we can really send a message is to get out there and show the powers that be that we're not going to go along with the status quo, that we are going to vote for the third party, if nothing else but to eliminate the possibility of the false left and the false right to gain any real footing anymore, because as long as we allow them to continue forward as they have been, we're only going to have the same results over and over again. It's just like the old saying, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. At this point in 2014, we should be able to stand back and say, hey, voting left or right obviously makes no difference. We're still having the same results. Maybe we should try something different. The vote is only thrown away at this point if you're voting for Republican or Democrat. They love to say that thing, oh yeah, go ahead and vote Libertarian, go ahead and vote for a third party, go ahead and vote Independent, you're just throwing your wasted vote. No, a wasted vote is voting for the same people who keep doing the same crap over and over again. That's a wasted vote, and if we get enough people together to vote for that third party, then it's not a wasted vote.
Exactly. Unless you're willing to take action yourself, you are part of the problem. So it's not like an inaction is a action of itself type scenario. I'll give you an example. I hear people complaining all the time about minimum wage and these horrible companies that pay these low wages. I got news for you. You are the problem. You, the listener, the person that goes to work and shows up every day, because you support their system and make them money. If you really hate how low the wages are at McDonald's, do yourself a favor. Collectively, and I know McDonald's is probably going to put a hitman on me for this, don't show up for work for a week. Watch their pay scale. Watch all their money go away. The owner of that franchise who has been doing his employees wrong will pay for it. And I don't just mean McDonald's specifically. I'm just using that as an analogy. But any company you don't believe in, stop supporting them. If everybody walks out, they don't make any more money.
Vote with your dollar.
Guess what happens to the company? It goes bankrupt. Guess what happens to the money? It goes away. So stop depending on government to do it for you. Make a difference yourself.
That's right. Right on. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of part 1. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please stick around for part 2, which is coming up in about 10-15 minutes. And with part 2, we will be reading an article by Dr. Richard Bramante, and we'll actually have him on for the second half of the second segment of part 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, so please stick around for that. Also, again, follow us online, talkfreedom.webs.com. Follow us on Twitter at TalkFreePodcast. And thank you to our sponsors, Helios Microwater. That's Helios Water Group, the number 5.webs.com. Mention the word freedom and get 10% off of 10 bottles or more. And of course, thank you to our other sponsor, Will Powered Fit Training. Mention the word freedom, get your first session free for new customers.